Welcome to Becoming the Ultimate Coach with the Jock
and the Doc.
Hi, I'm Scott Schutte.
And I'm Dr. Janine Steester, and welcome to Becoming the Ultimate Coach.
We are here to disrupt some of the current thinking around how the fitness industry approaches clients. Our goal is to educate and inspire fitness professionals to get the results, income, hours, and career that they want and deserve.
Our combined experience and education in psychology and fitness create a new insight on ways to become the ultimate coach.
Welcome to Becoming the Ultimate Coach. I'm the Jock, this is the Doc, and today we're going to be talking about why you should be attending fitness conferences. And so I'm excited to hear Dr. J break this down, but my benefit over the many years I've been going to, I've met some of my best friends. I have gotten really good connections there. Now, we always want to be learning. That is a staple of becoming a good coach, but Dr. J, break it down. What's the benefit of actually going and attending one of these conferences?
Yeah, and you talked about networking and kind of meeting people and the relationships that you build, and different people have different ways of networking and how you build relationships, and for some it feels really natural just to start up a conversation, those type of things. For others who tend to be more kind of introspective or just not naturally as extroverted, it may have to be thinking about that strategically on looking ahead, who's presenting, what kind of topics, thinking about who might also be in that session that has a similar interest. Even when you walk in the room, it's like thinking about where am I sitting? What's the likelihood that I'm sitting close enough to someone to start up a conversation or some natural things happen? But aside even from networking, one of the cornerstones of going in person is thinking and about how you think about things. So what I mean by that is that we've all been to conferences and presentations and we're like, oh, that was really good, or I don't know where that one was going, or I don't even agree with that one, or we have some of those thoughts. But what's happening when we're sitting through those presentations and we're listening to people, we're watching their body language, we're looking at the audience, we're hearing the words, even let's say if we don't agree, or even if we're bored, what we can do and what naturally happens even if we're not aware is that we're picking up certain language that people are using, common language about how they phrase things, and it allows you to start hearing, even when they share examples, it's like, oh, people talk like that, or they're referencing something like that. So it enhances your overall language in your vocabulary about how things are phrased, or maybe even hear somebody say something, you're like, oh gosh, that doesn't sound good, and then think, gosh, maybe I've said that before. I need to change that up. So it really helps looking at language and also our critical thinking. When we sit in something and we agree with it, right, it's really great confirmation bias. We're like, oh yeah, that's amazing, and so it can fuel us. But also when we hear something that we don't necessarily agree with or we don't think is fully baked, it enhances our critical thinking skills and our ability to quickly and more sharply discern fact from fiction, opinion from data, and also just sort of bandwagon approach as opposed to somebody who's really thought out systems and thought this through, experience, non-experience, those type of things. And so even if we're not directly aware, it really is helping. And then that allows you that when you get the social media feed, when you're reading a blog, when somebody's talking to you, you're more quickly able over time to start to kind of discern, wait a minute, that's not adding up. Or yes, I feel like that's a really valid statement because I heard X, Y, and Z. So there's just some of those cognitive processes that just allow us to grow. And it's one of the reasons why sometimes when you speak with a mentor or someone's been in the field for a while and they've been active at conferences, different things, and it can be striking how quickly, like you can walk out and you'll be like, wasn't that great? And they're like, it was good, but da-da-da-da-da. And you're like, wow, how did they kind of go through that? And part of that is that process that they've been going through. So there's just a lot of interesting benefits to us just in general from learning, and especially being in person for some of those things.
Yeah, so kind of jumping back and going over my history of doing these is one of my early conferences I went to, someone actually posted like, hey, I got an extra bedroom to stay at the Airbnb that they were doing at. And so I did stay at that one with this group of people. And one of the guys from that trip actually is a really good friend of mine. And it's someone that we can talk ideas off of because he's a peer. He's in a similar spot as I am in our fitness journey and the gym owner. And so it's amazing how much we can get off of each other. Like he worked on different recipes that he sends out to clients, and he sent it over me, and I just put our logo on it, and then I had something. So if someone's like, oh, I want to eat something chicken, I'm like, well, hey, try this thing out. And so like when we were actually creating our manual for our employees, he's like, oh, can I see yours? I sent it over, and he made the tweaks. So it's a way that you can have someone that is on the same level as you, and you can bounce ideas back and forth on. You can share some of the work that each other's doing. And another recent example is like when we were talking about some of these like tax credits and stuff like this, like me letting him know that one of these was existing, him putting that in is like he was able to get a large chunk of money. So some of these can be very financially rewarding for you. But then there's other ones. I was at another conference, and one of the guys attending, we had a mutual friend, and he introduced ourselves, and he's also one of my good friends today, and he's the one that kind of got us in the direction of teaching this course that we now teach, because we wrote a book on how to help the more of the client and user on how to think of things differently, how to redefine fitness. But he's like, man, coaches actually need this. So having that person that has a different perspective with you can really change the course of your career in the better. There's also been a couple where we heard, there's two different times where we were hearing a speaker and we're like, wow, they have really good information. So we actually paid for some of their consulting time. And if we weren't at this conference, like I wouldn't have known about these people. So it's such a great networking to figure out like, okay, maybe this is someone that I can learn from and I'll pay their time to do this. Maybe it's someone's a peer and we can kind of learn together and talk on a regular basis. And there's so much benefit to that, because I'm fortunate because I have a business partner that I can talk to about different things, and I have Dr. J that kind of helps consult on the business side. But some of these people, if you're like a solo owner, you have employees, you have clients, and some of your clients are good advisors, but they just see things a little differently. I know one of my clients early on, he just works at a much higher level. When we were talking about one of the competitors, he's like, yeah, just buy them up. I'm like, whoa, well, that's a different strategy. So it's just having someone that kind of on that same playing field as you can gain a lot of information. So, Dr. J, anything you want to add to that?
I love everything that Scott was talking about there on those peers and having people to talk to. So definitely, I think that's a priority. But the other part that I'll challenge you on is to think about conferences that you can grow, but they may not necessarily be the ones that you typically go to, or for example, if you're a trainer, or a gym owner and a trainer, right? You might go to some programming and all of these kind of typical, but what about some business ones? What about some marketing ones? What about areas, or at least even when you go to a conference, picking presentations that kind of stretch you, or you may know nothing about, but could really benefit you from the information and even the connections. And Scott and I work a lot together. We're from two very different backgrounds that kind of have come together to do what we're doing. And there's so much value in that relationship. But if I'm only in or at places or in presentations where it's stuff I already know or I'm super comfortable with, it's also, I'm just not getting the opportunity to either grow in different areas, whether it's business-wise, like I said, or marketing, or also just meet other people that will complement what I know and where I want to go.
Yeah, there's so much of you don't know what you don't know. And so that's why I like Perform Better puts on this 3-day summit of speakers. And so like every hour, there's like 3 or 4 different speakers to go in and see. And so you get to go in there and just almost have a sample of each one and be like, oh, that's pretty good. I never thought of it about that way. Or like, that's interesting. I want to learn more about that. So you get those 3 days of like really learning about new people, about new subjects, and really got to work on your craft. Another one, and I'm a big fan of this style too, is actually Dr. Ben House has a retreat down in Costa Rica where you and other fitness professionals spend a week there learning from some top guys that he brings in, and you get to train together and learn together. And those cannot be more opposite in how they're set up, but they're both very beneficial in like what you learn and what you get out of that. So the big takeaway here is be sure that you're attending these. The network, even though it can be a pain at times, is super beneficial because you never know who you're going to meet these things. That could be the next advisor, mentor for you, could be the next peer, could be the next person that just connects you to the person that's going to help you build your career. So keep doing that. So until next time.